Hey there, folks. So today, you guys are going to take your first set of notes. So the way that we're going to do that is you guys picked up some fill-in-the-blank note sheets, and those should be in your notebook already. On the page that says the earliest humans, which should be on page 2 of your notebook, you're going to watch this video and you're going to use this video to fill in the blanks on those notes. And then in the next couple of days, you'll go back and interact with the notes and make more meaning with them. So the title for your notes for today is The Earliest Humans. And the questions that you're going to try to answer with this video and with this set of notes is: who were the earliest humans? What were their lives like? And how did the Neolithic revolution change their lives? And we're going to talk about what that is. So there are several different theories about where humans came from. And so the theory for which there is the most scientific evidence is the theory of evolution. And so that's what we're going to talk about with this particular set of notes today. So a lot of people think that evolution means that like humans came from monkeys or chimpanzees or apes or something like that. That's actually not true. So what evolution means is that humans and other similar species like other primates, like gorillas and monkeys and things like that, shared a common ancestor. So it's not that we came from monkeys, it's that us and monkeys and gorillas probably have a common ancestor. So we're more like cousins than like grandparent and grandchild. So scientists have evidence of evolution from fossils. So fossils are things like bones and teeth and things that are left behind by ancient animals. Each time scientists find a new fossil, it helps them revise their theories and make the theory better. We think that the earliest human-like creatures showed up on Earth about 3 to 4 million years ago. Humans started walking upright about 1.8 million years ago. So Homo erectus is the species name for the first human-like creatures to walk upright instead of on all fours. The species that we are is Homo sapiens. So Homo means man, sapien means wise. So our species name in Latin literally means wise man. And we think that the earliest Homo sapiens showed up around 200,000 years ago. And we think that they started acting like modern humans and doing a lot of the things that we do today around 50,000 years ago. So humans have been around for quite a while, but not very long in the big scheme of things in terms of the history of our planet. So the first period of human history is called the Paleolithic Age. During this time period, humans hadn't figured out how to write things down yet, and so a lot of what we know about the earliest humans comes from artifacts. And you'll remember from earlier in class that an artifact is something left behind by a human. So Paleolithic means old stone. Paleo means old, lith means stone. So the Paleolithic Age is the Old Stone Age. People during this time hunted and gathered to get their food. And so the tools that they made helped them do that. So things for hunting like spears and bows and arrows and things like that. And then things for gathering like blades that they could harvest plants with. And here are more images of the kinds of tools that humans would have used during the Stone Age. So people during this time period were nomads. They moved from place to place rather than settling in a single location. Usually they would follow a food source like a herd of animals or something like that. One of the things that enabled humans to survive is being able to use fire. If you can cook food, it's easier to digest. And so once humans figured out how to cook their food, they didn't have to spend as much of their energy digesting, which meant that more of their calories, more of their body's fuel, instead of going to their stomach, could go to their brain. So if you look at humans as opposed to other primate species like chimpanzees and gorillas, humans have a bigger skull, we have a bigger forehead, and that's because we have a bigger brain than they do. And that's why we can do things that other animals can't. And so the reason we can do that is because we figured out how to cook food. Between 100,000 years ago and 8,000 years ago, there was an ice age. So an ice age is where the temperature of the planet drops. Basically, Earth tilted a little bit and it dropped the temperature because we were facing the sun differently. Fire was an important way to survive. If humans hadn't been able to use fire, we probably would not have survived the ice age. But because what had been water froze over and you could walk on it, people were able to migrate to places that they couldn't before. So we think that the earliest humans started out somewhere in northern Africa, and they started to migrate over the land to Europe, to Asia, things like that. But how do you get people in the Americas? There's an ocean here. Well, when the Ice Age happened, people were able to come this way, and then they were able to cross the Pacific Ocean and end up in what is today Alaska, and then populate the rest. Okay, so that's how we end up with human-like creatures in the Americas and also in Australia, because the oceans froze over in some places and people could walk on them. So this is some art from the Old Stone Age. We're going to talk about both of these more in class. If you've ever heard of cave paintings, caves are great for preserving stuff because rain can't get in, weather can't get in, animals don't really come in. So there's a lot of examples of Paleolithic era art in caves. So this one is from a place called El Castillo in Spain. And then this is from a place called Lascaux in France. And so these are some of the earliest examples of cave art. So if Paleolithic is the Old Stone Age, the period that follows that is the Neolithic Age, which is New Stone Age. And the most important thing that happened during that time period is the development of agriculture. Agriculture is farming. So just like we said, people started out in Northern Africa, give or take, and then spread to the rest of the world. Agriculture is going to follow a similar pattern. So agriculture shows up for the first time in a place called the Fertile Crescent because it's kind of shaped like a crescent moon. And it's this area right here in the Middle East. It's parts of what is today Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia and places like that. And it's because it's kind of in a warm, wet location. It's a great place to grow stuff. From there, as people migrate, as people spread, they take that knowledge of how to grow things to other places. Now, are people going to be farming all the way up here where it's frozen all the time? No. Are people going to be farming right here where the equator is, where it's all desert? No. But people are going to spread to other places where it's warm but not too hot, where it's wet but not flooded all the time, where things are pretty mild. And so it's going to spread to Egypt, it's going to spread to India, it's going to spread to China. And so those are the places that are going to develop agriculture first, and that's where we're going to see the first developed societies. Why is agriculture important? Well, if you're a hunter-gatherer, you have to follow your food. You don't get to stay in one place very long. You're not really going to build anything. You're not really going to figure out how to write stuff down, because what's the point? You don't want to carry around a bunch of written records if you're moving around all the time. So if you can stay in one place, you can have permanent settlements for the first time. You can have specialized labor. So specializing means to get really good at one thing. If you're a little band of people moving from place to place, everybody does everything. Everybody hunts, everybody gathers, everybody takes care of the children, everybody pitches a tent, everybody whatever. But if you stay in one place, you don't need everybody to do everything. So like, I'm a teacher, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a farmer, I do one thing. And you get better at something when that's the only thing you're doing. Okay. We're also going to get formal government for the first time, and we're going to get new technology. So if you're farming, you have to be able to water your crops. So that's where irrigation comes from. And then people are going to start, rather than hunting wild animals, they're going to figure out how to tame plants and animals and use them for human purposes. And then once people stay in one place, we're going to get formal religion for the first time. And so this is the time period when the first religions show up. And so this is Stonehenge. It's a very famous historic site in Britain, and it's huge stone slabs. I mean, if you were to see a person would be like about this tall compared to these huge stone slabs. And you're not going to build a huge structure like this if you're never going to come back to it. But if you're staying in one place, you can build things like this for the first time. And so we see these things starting to emerge as agriculture emerges. Okay, so that is it for today for this set of notes. So make sure you've got them all filled in. Go back and watch again if you need to, and I will see you in the next set. Thanks, folks.